Would you describe yourself as someone who has lots of friends? Perhaps you are a friend to many, but may not feel like you have many friends yourself. Relationships and relating to others is not always a natural skill, and it can be particularly challenging for a survivor of sexual abuse, especially males. I've got a message here for you on relating to others and how to do it better. Stay with me. Hi, my name is Bruce. I'm a survivor of sexual abuse and I'm a Christian. You may not hear those two statements together all that often, especially from a male. And probably that's even rarer in church life, of which I've been in senior leadership roles for a couple of decades. So these messages are about bringing awareness, healing and recovery to all victims of sexual abuse, but especially males. It's about going from victim to survivor to thriver. Now I do wish to advise you of my disclaimer. I'm not a medical professional, but what I intend to share is what has helped me over the years. Like myself, you need to determine what you feel is helpful and suitable for you. Relating to others. As humans, we're actually quite complex in many areas. One of those is how we relate to others. There are so many communication cues and messages we give out, look for and pick up on. Effective communication is as much about the words said as it is about tone and body language. I have the privilege of working with many couples planning on marrying, and I counsel them on that. So, like many areas in a person's life, to the victim and survivor of childhood sexual abuse, the way such a person relates to others can be significantly impacted and not in a good way. Learning about that though and getting better recovery is possible. So I'm glad you found this message for yourself or for the benefit of somebody else you may know. Let's get into it then. The abuse can cause survivors to shut down emotionally to varying extents. This can often be an automatic subconscious way to avoid the pain of their world at the time. So whilst that may have been a drastic way in which to avoid pain, and it was probably somewhat effective, such a blanket method no doubt also prevented the victim of feeling other things, affecting how they relate to others. A consequence of this then is that they perhaps also don't feel joy. It's not really possible to single out one type of emotion. For example, you can't make yourself only feel happy and not ever feel sad. Emotions come as a package. As many psychologists will probably tell you, once established, habits can be difficult to change, and that's known habits that are fully understood in their reasons and effects. So even today, many survivors of childhood sexual abuse may still automatically shut down emotionally in stressful times. It became a learned response back then, and subconsciously perhaps still kicks in today, whether really necessary or not. For many children who were abused, a desperate way for them to try and make sense of it all, a way in which to try to cope with something they probably had little control over, was to try and gain control. That may have played out in their mind, in their inner world, where they perhaps felt they had a level of control, where they were in control. Think about that now in your life as an adult who doesn't want to be in control of their own lives. It's a basic human right. Be understanding of your younger self if you see that took place. It was actually a very brave and creative way of coping. Many survivors don't develop friendships with anyone, merely acquaintances. We learn so much about life in our childhood. for an abused child, they may learn very few people, if any, can be truly trusted, so they can develop a protective shield around their emotions. If they let people in, they will get hurt, so distance is created. The adult can carry over that protective distancing that is perhaps no longer required. It can take intentional effort to take a step back, see how much of yourself you are opening up to others, and then adjust that as you feel to. It will probably be different for each person in your life. You'll want to be closer to some more than others, but merely wanting that will probably not make it happen. Such an ingrained long-term way of protecting yourself won't change overnight. Intent requires action. There was a funeral that I read about recently for a well-known media personality. The deceased's son was reading his speech, and he made the remark that his father was known by many but not well known. That comment really resonated with me. I got it, and it made me think how that was probably true in my life also. Of course, I'm the only one that really knows how much of others I let in. Perhaps you can relate. Along that same train of thought then, is perhaps also true that many are great friends to others, yet have no great friends themselves. If you are a great friend to others, you no doubt want friends of your own. Opening up more, relating more to others, will be a part of allowing that to happen. The abused child may learn to behave in certain ways to stay safe. That might mean acting mean or bad to create distance to others. I've heard it said often that the child who bullies others is not so much tough, but is more so feeling very afraid or insecure, so that they act out in the opposite spirit as a decoy. Therefore, many may hide behind a hard exterior in an attempt to prevent further hurt. The child may have erected barriers, preventing others to not get too close. We can carry those into our adulthood, and it's difficult for those barriers to not affect significant areas of our lives. You know what happens when you pour a little milk inside a cup of black tea? It's impossible for only a part of the tea in the teacup to get milk into it. All of the tea gets milk into it. Many adult survivors work hard to isolate themselves from intimate or close relationships. Prickly bears is a phrase often used to describe such people. They are successful in their mission. Nobody wants to get close to them. If they could be really open, self-aware and honest with themselves though, most probably don't really want that to be the case. There is a descriptor that is used in how we relate to others, in how we want others to see us. It's referred to as our mask. When someone looks at you wearing a mask, all they see is the mask. It might be a medical face mask or a masquerade or fancy dress mask. If they only ever see you that way, that's all they ever know. Will you let others see behind the mask, or at least other different, safer masks for others to see? As you live out a life where relating to others is restricted, you can have a level of isolation. That can be ongoing, and there can be levels of detachment that go with it. You can be in a crowded room, yet be all alone. Let me briefly highlight some other factors that can be present here, because what I often say in these messages on recovery is that getting to know the abuse's effects is also getting to know how to get better. So, self-doubt can be huge. Self-confidence can be incredibly low. And this can affect many parts of our lives. Survivors need to admit their need for help, first to themselves, then to a trusted and safe other person or persons, then actually seek help. It's pretty hard to trust and relate to others if you don't trust yourself. It's hard to love others if you can't love yourself. And that's not just my thought of the day. And that's the viewpoint from God that I see right here in this Bible verse. This is 1 John chapter 4, verse 18. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear has to do with punishment. The one who fears is not made perfect in love. You know, you can love others and then relate better to them, but that has to start with you first. Thank you for joining me with this content. It's always my intention that this helps you or helps you to help others. In addition to other content like this, I wanted to make sure you know that I have an introduction clip and also my personal testimony. I encourage you to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you are notified when additional content is available. Perhaps a little strange on a channel like this is the like button, but I'd ask you to press that if you have found this content helpful. I hope you join me again soon.